Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm El Hattie and I am here to show you the 2 bullet journals I have been using over the course of 2021. I actually started off in this bullet journal here. This is from Scribbles That Matter, and then I moved into my Gentle Giant in B5 size in September, I think, from memory. But I wanted to show you both of them because this is kind of like my year in journals, really. It's a bit like my diary, so I thought I would share. So I'm going to start with my January through to the summer bullet journal. Now, I actually ended up stepping away from Scribbles That Matter quite quickly. I've used them for about 5 years worth of bullet journaling, a long time. But I fell in love with my notebook therapy one very quickly, and that's where I think I shall be staying over the continuation of my bullet journaling. I started off with just a very basic cover page, and I did this kind of star theme for my setup. I started off, originally I was going to be including this kind of little girl throughout most of my spreads, and then I remembered I really struggle to draw people, so I think she appears once in the entire year. So my bad, that was me, but I drew her with a mask because we were in the throes of lockdown and things like that. So this is the Starry Night journal, hence why I went for this kind of star theme. So I started off really simple, just a bit of a kind of astronomy theme. I used a lot of this black card with my white jelly rolls over the top. And then I had my monthly logs, which I didn't end up using a huge amount, especially sort of up this end of the year because I'd moved into my second journal by then. As you can see, this has been a year where I've not been great at completing things, so I ended up not using this page at all despite my best interests, and I read about 10 books and then forgot to write down the rest. So it's better in my second journal, I will admit, but this first journal was not that great. This year has been a very mixed year for me. There have been some really wonderful times, but I've also had quite a lot of troubles this year in terms of my sort of personal life, which has definitely taken its toll on how I have journaled. Though, just gonna interject here because this is one of my all-time favourite spreads ever. I just adored this spread, and it was just so fun to do with these hot air balloons and the little bits of the background. Absolutely love those. There's a snowman I made back in January when it snowed. But yeah, so this year has been definitely one of ups and downs. It has been a difficult year for a number of reasons, but actually I'm finding now, looking back, I feel like I'm a lot stronger for a lot of those difficulties that I went through. So that's a positive. So yeah, I tend to find though that my bullet journal reflects when I'm having periods of unease. So this one in particular, I just felt so all over the place back in February that I don't think this theme is very cohesive. It's not one of my favorites. It was kind of supposed to be a little bit of a kind of fairy tales reading sort of theme, but I think it just ended up looking a bit of a mess, to be honest. Not one of my favorites though. I do love these little doodles of these dragons that I used to do. So, and they're super simple. I think I ended up doing like a little kind of tutorial on those, but if you did want to see me do some tutorials of some of my favorite doodles throughout my bullet journals, please do let me know in the comments down below. And there we go. Yeah, so that was February. As you can see, I was not great about filling in my bullet journal back then. I was pretty lax about it, but as I go through the year, it does get more filled up, I promise. Then I went for this kind of, I guess, Japanesey volcano theme, which I really hate. I'm not gonna lie, I really don't like. In fact, you can see that I disliked it so much I didn't even bother completing quite a lot of these spreads, which, you know, my bad. So I didn't particularly like those at all. And then I got really lazy and I stopped working that hard on the designs and just putting in these really quick branches. So not my finest March theme at all. Though I mean, I loved this pink, kind of rosy pink colour for the sunset. I really dislike the purples I ended up choosing. I think they were too close to the background colour. So, but you live and you learn, and that's one of the wonderful things about bullet journaling, is it's always a space to experiment and to try new things. I actually think when I did this one here, the colours just have that little bit more contrast, so that stands out way better than this one. So, learning experiences, as I said. And this clearly was a very busy week for me, as you can see. Now this design, I think, is one of my all-time absolute favourites. I just adored doing these doodles, this kind of nautical, piratical theme, and it took an age to set up. It took such a long time, but I think it was honestly really worth it. So I think from memory it took me about 5 hours to do all of the doodles. I had about 5 hours of footage by the end of this, but I really think it was worth it. I loved the lettering I did, and I just loved all the designs. And I loved that I got an opportunity to use this quote. It's by Louise May Alcott, who, if you didn't know, wrote Little Women. There's a great movie adaptation of that. I think it's on Netflix actually, so do go and check it out, because I thought this was just such a lovely, lovely quote to use with this theme. So yeah, I had all of these kind of piratical doodles, compasses, sextants, maps, telescopes, ships in bottles, all of those kind of things. Just sort of the things you'd expect to see in kind of an old pirate ship's cabin, with the sort of things for navigating and the like. As you can see, I started kind of just using my memories pages as a sort of a bit of a dumping ground for stuff that I was given, little notes and things, and I really love keeping those. They just feel a little bit special, and things you don't want to just throw away. So yeah, here, more of those really nice doodles. I actually really loved this layout, and I used it quite a lot in the early part of the year. I found in the end it didn't have enough space. I like having my lists vertical rather than horizontal, but I thought it was such a nice way of laying out this particular spread, especially when I had kind of more events than tasks, so I thought that was quite good. So I do use that a little bit. And then I switched over to this kind of spread, and you will see this spread or iterations of this spread a lot throughout my journal. And by this page you can tell I was getting really tired of setting up this journal with really intense amounts of doodles, so it got pretty sparing towards the end of the month. And as you can see here, it became almost non-existent because I'd lost patience by that point. So the next month I ended up doing was this kind of koi theme. Full disclosure, never really drawn koi before, found it really hard, so don't judge me for some slightly wonky looking fish, but I had this gorgeous washi tape that the washi tape company actually sent me, and I loved it so much, and I was so inspired by it, so I thought I would use this as kind of one of the focal points. And I went for this kind of lily theme with it, and then used the washi tape as kind of like a focal point. And then I ended up making a mood page, and I ended up using the flower petals to track my mood. I really dislike this page for a number of reasons, but mostly because there just isn't enough colour on here. The white fish, I think, just looks unfinished. And I was really harsh on myself when I made this spread as well, because I wasn't in a great headspace at that time. So I am judging myself quite hard on this spread, but there we are. And as you can see, my memories page is completely blank. So yes, that is, yeah, let's move swiftly along. Oh, I did like these. These are actually just cutouts from the roll of washi tape that I was using. Top tip, you get so many gorgeous washi tapes. Use them as stickers. Do it, seriously, they're awesome. Talking of washi tape, you can see throughout this spread I've just used some washi tape to cover up kind of some of the personal details that I don't want on the internet. I will probably reuse a lot of this washi tape, so don't worry about it going to waste. I did like this Dutch door actually. I thought this was quite nice. Doing the colour like that seemed a little bit better to my mind than just having sort of one length running along the dorsal fin. And then I just put this little quote on the back because it was a funny shape and I wasn't really sure what else to do with it. And then moving into June, I went for like this puppy theme. I thought this was a really cute little drawing, and I set up this page expecting to put loads of photos in, and that just never happened. So there we go. Again, this was a month where I had a lot going along in my personal life. I ended up actually having to move very suddenly, so there was a lot going on. So it became more sporadic, my use of this. So I ended up doing this kind of double Dutch door just to fit as many days in as possible. So I think this is actually the entire month bar 1 week on one page. And that was it for this particular book. The only other thing I did have was I did a few doodles in the background, just how to doodle a dragon and the hot air balloons. Originally I had planned to do one of these pages for every single month, but that did not happen, as you can tell. So I have got these little doodles in the back, which I just thought were really, really sweet. So yeah, as I said, do let me know if you want a more in-depth video of how I do my doodles. And that is my first notebook. This is the Gentle Giant B5 notebook from Notebook Therapy. It's got this gorgeous navy velvet cover, and I fell in love with this journal from the very beginning. I loved that it's B5, not A5, so I've just got that little bit more space. In fact, if I just compare the two, you can see how much bigger it is, which is just the most practical thing ever. And it had this gorgeous design on the front, and I just absolutely loved it, and I will definitely be using this notebook again over pretty much any other notebook. So okay, I went for a whale theme because this was the Gentle Giant notebook. I remember hating this opening page. I should not have used watercolour. It is always a mistake because I'm not very good, and I think I'm better than I am, and I'm not. But I'm self-aware enough to be able to admit it. So you'll see I started off doing watercolour and then very, very hastily moved over into coloured markers, which I am much more confident with. So here I did set up this kind of key and grid spacing cheat sheet. I normally don't bother with these because, as I've said, I do bullet journal a lot. I've been bullet journaling for a number of years now, so I don't really need it. But because this was a B5 and was an A5 notebook, I decided that that was probably a practical thing to include. I ended up loving this whale design. I was quite shocked how easy these whales were to draw. Once you had this kind of shape with the fins, it really just was very straightforward, and I really loved doing this setup. And my future log here. Do you like that I'm using whale washi tape to cover up some of the things that's private in there? I thought that was a really good use for my whale washi tape. And then my reading list, which, as you can see, is much more filled in this half of the year. I was much better about recording it in the second part of the year. And then here is my July setup. I wanted a really quick and easy setup. I think this was the fastest setup I had ever done in my bullet journal. These are watercolor sunflowers. They were the most speedy thing to paint, and I've always loved painting flowers, so I was really happy to have this as my theme. I've kind of always been hesitant to do floral designs for my bullet journal just because I think I would end up relying on them when I'm stuck for ideas, but I loved how this turned out. I thought it was so cheerful, so summery, and just really straightforward and easy to do. And I loved this as a quote as well. And then, as you can see, life happened and I got very busy. The summer was quite a difficult time for me, so as you can see, my memories page didn't really get filled in. I think I made it to the 12th on my mood trackers and my habit trackers, and then life happened, and yes, let's move on very quickly. Here, I really enjoyed doing this as a setup, actually. for my weeklies having these little tabs. So I made the sunflowers as the tabs, which I thought was just really fun. So I did all of my weeklies sort of with these kind of Dutch doors here. Something I've really found over the course of this year is that it doesn't suit me to have really intricate weeklies, because I then feel like I can't use them because I don't want it to upset the designs. So having something with just loads of big open spaces for me to be able to jot down all of the stuff I need to do is just more helpful, I've found. I have a confession, I did skip August. I actually took a break in August because of the aforementioned personal things. So we're now going to jump straight to September, and oh, I loved this theme. I loved it so much. I loved the colours, I loved the shapes, I loved how doodly it was. It was just, yeah, chef's kiss. I don't know if people are still saying that, but I loved it, and it was just one of my ultimate favourite designs I've ever done. And it was so simple, just these kind of harvesty apples with the 3 colours just to make them look really 3D, and I adored it. And it was so fun to do as well, just with these kind of really cute little doodles and some sort of nice orangey washi tape. And then, as you can see, I did not fill it in. I'm not very good at filling in my mood trackers, and you'll see actually that I learned from this, and I think I might have done one in the next month, but after that I stopped doing mood trackers because I just don't use them. And I know that's probably sacrilege to say in the bullet journaling community, but it's just not for me. It just doesn't work for me. And that's okay, because the whole point of being in this wonderful community is that you are free to express yourselves through your bullet journal in a way that works for you. More of my little doodles here. And then this setup here is one that I end up using a huge amount. It's my absolute favourite setup because I usually don't have that many events, but I always have lots of tasks to do. So I ended up using that a lot throughout the rest of the year. And then October. It really strikes me actually that I like my themes that I went for towards the end of the year much more than at the beginning of the year. So make of that what you will. This was kind of like a Halloween-y theme. I had this lovely little black cat. It really reminds me of the cat from Kiki's Delivery Service. Is it Gigi? I think it's Gigi. Let me know in the comments down below. But I just loved that as a little motif. And these really funny little pumpkins that I love drawing pumpkins and squashes. I don't know why, I just find it really, really fun. And then here is my November setup. Now this one, it was dark, it was gloomy, I was so sick of it being cold and wet that I decided I was going to have bright colours, it was going to be really cheerful and vibrant, so I went for a hummingbirds theme. Full disclosure, I'd never drawn hummingbirds before either, so this was a really good challenge for me. And I went for this kind of hummingbird fuchsia sort of a theme as well. Lots of really bright colours. They were really fun to draw, actually. They took forever because I ended up doing sort of individual little dots of colour rather than just colouring the whole thing in. So it took forever, but I think it was worth it because I just thought they were so fun and so pretty at the end of it. It made me really cheerful in all the grotty weather we had here in November. And then that is the end of November, and finally moving on to my December setup. So, to be perfectly truthful, never had I gone into a setup with such high hopes only for them to come crashing down basically the second that I actually started. So I really loved this front cover. I did it across actually 2 levels, so there was actually 2 pieces of paper. I used my craft knife to cut out this sort of section here in the hope that it would sort of build some depth, and I do really like this front cover. I hate the rest of this setup. It was a mistake, and I will show you why it was a mistake. Because on this page I brought back the little girl that I had started in the very beginning of my bullet journal at January, And I remembered why I don't include people in my journal, because I am just terrible. I'm gonna hide her. I'm so terrible at drawing humans. I'm really bad at it. And especially kind of cartoon humans, I don't know what it is about them, but yeah. Oh, I'm laughing just looking at her. It was terrible. It was awful. And then I kind of completely lost faith in my own setup and the theme I'd been going for, which was supposed to be all about sort of preparing for Christmas and getting ready for Christmas Day. So I ended up just drawing some snowmen on the last one, because I do love drawing snowmen and they are pretty hard to get wrong. So there we go. And actually this is where we are at the moment. And then I have set up the week after, which is going to kind of be moving into New Year. And then I finished off my journal with this kind of loading 2022 sort of page. And that is it. I have set myself up a place for 2021 reflections, sort of on a personal level and a professional level as well. And that is the extent of my whole year in my bullet journal. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed flipping through my year in my bullet journal as much as I have. It's always both hilarious and slightly cringe to see what I've put online and what some of my drawings have been throughout the years. I think I've definitely had a few highlights. I've really enjoyed some of them, especially my harvesty apple theme I loved. There have definitely been some that I'm less proud of, but that's okay as well. So thank you so much for coming along on this journey with me this year. It has meant so much to me, and I hope you have a wonderful end of 2021. Bye!